Then we have chapter 3. So chapter 3, we got to start with parallel lines. So coplanar lines that don't intersect. So remember, they have to be on the same plane. But if they're on the same plane, then they are parallel. Symbol for parallel. Remember, that was just going to be those straight up and down lines. Usually they say like LKL is parallel to AB. So they just put two straight lines up and down in the middle. Skew. These are lines that don't intersect. But you can't pick ones that are parallel because we call them parallel, but are not parallel. So if they're parallel, label them parallel. If they don't intersect, then they should be skew. All parallel planes that don't intersect, that would be like my floor and the floor below me. Miss Stout's room's above me, so Miss Stout's in my room, the floors don't intersect because they're parallel planes. Don't intersect. And I'm sure they're both flat, so you know they have like the same slope and everything. Transversal lines that intersect the parallel lines. So these are the lines that intersect. Parallel lines. Parallel lines. So I would say if I had two lines here, in black that are parallel here, the transversal would be this one in red. This is the transversal. Transversal. Okay. Now from there we have interior angles. So interior angles are going to be the angles between the parallel lines. So parallel symbol, lines. So I wrote between the parallel lines. So that's going to be all the stuff here that I'm scribbling in green in my black and red one. Then we have exterior angles. Angles that fall outside of parallel lines. And that is going to be this stuff that I'm scribbling in blue. The blue stuff is the exterior. The green between the black lines is the interior. And red is the transversal. So then from there, I'm going to erase all that. And then we have some names of corresponding and consecutive and things like that. So, corresponding angles. If I drew two lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Corresponding angle, we would say are angles in the same location. Same spot. Examples here. There's 4 of them. Examples include angle 1 is in the same spot as angle 5. So angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. Angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding. Angle 3 and angle 7. And angle 4 and angle 8. So these are my best steps at and signs. Consecutive interior would be same side of transversal. That's what the consecutive part is for. And then we still have interior. So interior then says between parallel, I don't know what that just did that for, parallel lines. So for examples of consecutive interior, these examples, there's just 2. And so those examples are angle 3 is on the same side as angle 5. and angle 3 and 5 are between the parallel, and then the other one would be angle 4 and angle 6. So those are your example of consecutive interior. Now, on the next page, we're going to tell you that consecutive interior are always supplementary. Those are the only ones that are supplementary. The corresponding angles that we just did are always equal. You set them equal to each other. So I'm going to do my best, try and keep my picture here in red. So consecutive interior. Now let's talk about alternate interior for a second. So alternate interior angles. They are alternate, so opposite sides of transversal. So I pick up that word, the interior, but still between parallel lines. So it's parallel symbol instead of writing it up. Now, examples of that. Should be 2 of them. So alternate interior would be angle 3 and angle, well, 5's on the same side, so it can't be that. 3 and 4 together make a linear pair, so it's going to be angle 6. And then the other example would be 4 and angle 5. So those are the ones that are alternate interior. Alternate exterior. So opposite side of transversal and outside of parallel, I don't know, I'll spell this time, lines. So your examples of that would be 1 and 2 would make a linear pair because they're a pair of angles that make a straight line. Opposite it, though, is angle 1 and angle 8 would be alternate exterior. And angle 2 matched up with angle 7 would be alternate exterior. So then when it says, if lines are corresponding angles are congruent, alternate interior are congruent, alternate exterior are congruent. The only ones that are supplementary was the one we did on the other page. That's consecutive interior. So when you get to a problem like this on your final, you should be able to match up the label of what it is and then figure out, okay, is that consecutive interior or not? Because that's when I have to set stuff equal to each other. Alright, I'm getting rid of this. Slope. So we've done some things with slope. So slope is always equal to rise over run. You can tell how steep something is. Tell how steep something is. Now, formula for slope is always going to be m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it doesn't really matter, but think of this as your first point, because your first point is going to become your x1, y1. We just give them the 1s because that's your first point. Your second point that they give you is going to be your x2 comma y2. Then you have to substitute everything into the equation. This word is on your final, rate of change. That is another word for slope. Okay? And usually we have like years or time stand for x's. So on the bottom of the formula. Because you have like miles per hour is a rate of change thing. So you have to know that. So parallel lines, next thing, parallel lines have equal slope. So one slope is a half if parallel, the slope of the other line is a half. So if it says these lines are parallel, use the same slope twice. Perpendicular would have been opposite reciprocal and switch signs. So if the slope is 1/2, you need to know that the opposite reciprocal, OR, like I did on the one before, opposite reciprocal would become -2/1 for the slope of a line that is opposite reciprocal. Don't forget, slope-intercept form, probably the most important thing on your final. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Now, we use it to graph, so b is the intercept. Alright, so b is the intercept. That we start there. We start there. Then we use m as rise over run. So if it's a negative, you would go down. And if it's a positive, you go up still, but you always go to the right. Horizontal line. Let's erase this for a second. I scroll down. You can see the end of chapter 4, so we're getting close. Horizontal line is a line that goes side to side. The equation for that line is y equals. All y's are the same. Meaning you're going to get things like y equals 2. So then you'd have this line up here at y equals 2. Alright, going side to side. A vertical line is going to be up and down. So if I said this thing, that would be x equals -2. Because all the x's are the same, so they don't write them. They just need to know. They just write x equals -2, and all the y's fall in line. Now, slope of a horizontal line, it has an O in it, so slope is 0. Okay, vertical line is going to be undefined. So that's why those lines don't have x and y's in them, because they're undefined. So, just for practice, to graph this line, like y equals -2/5 x plus 3, count up 3 on y-axis, start there, then down 2 to the right 5. So that's how you're doing it. Graphing and coordinate. Remember, these are two different things. That's a line. A coordinate is like x comma y or 3 comma 4. Here, you would walk 3 to the right, the positive side, and up 4. So that's how I would graph that point. I'm going to get rid of this for a second. So then the last couple things here. Adding and subtracting fractions. So common denominator. 4.5 plus 3/7. You would need to make the common denominator 14. So you have 14 and 14, you're adding. So you'd have 4. 7 times 2 is 14, so 1 times 7 is 7. Times both these by 2 to get there. And this would be 6. So to me this is 4 and 13 over 14. That's how you add fraction. Measuring using a ruler. Centimeters. Always out of 10. Alright? You can use a decimal if they have decimals as the multiple choice answer. Now, using a ruler, check a label, otherwise out of 16. Okay, good news. 3 of these sheets are done, leaving 2 for the next video. Have a great rest of your weekend.